Hi, guys, and welcome back.
Welcome back
to another episode of the C Word Chronicles podcast.
That's right.
It's been a long time. It has been a minute.
It's been a little bit over a month.
Yes. So, date is April 13th, 2023.
Yeah.
I'm your host, Olivia.
And I'm your co-host, finally recognized, Grammy-nominated, Oscar-nominated co-host, Ribu Thomas.
Okay. Very good.
She's upset she didn't get nominated.
Okay, please.
We'll get you there.
We have a lot to catch up on.
We have a lot. It's been a month,
It's been over a month. Our last episode 5 was March 1st. Mm-hmm. So let's get into it. But first, I have some bad news.
Tell.
I could not get the Wi-Fi fixed today.
Yeah.
I just need to let you know. So I haven't seen Rib since the morning, and the Wi-Fi was out in the morning, and I said, don't you even worry about it. Yeah. I'm going to put my little tech hat on, and I'm going to get to the bottom of why our Wi-Fi isn't working. Mm-hmm. I tried all damn day, and I couldn't get it fixed.
We had to pull the plug on the router.
Yeah.
And the modem.
Yeah.
And
did I have to Google what a router is? Yeah, I did. Yeah. But did I persevere and figure out that we have one main and then hubs? Yeah, I did.
It's a complicated system. We call it a cluster. We call it a mesh in the Geek Squad. But funny story with this was one time previously the internet went out and Liv was trying to diagnose it and really work through the process. And she's like, I did everything.
Don't you dare tell this story.
I did everything I possibly could. Like, what? I don't know why the internet's not working. So I get home and it just wasn't plugged in. And so I plugged it in, and per usual, I come home and as the husband, as the worker, come home, plug it in, and get the house working again. And our house is probably too automated where everything runs off Wi-Fi.
Oh my gosh, seriously. In my defense, it was unplugged because Julian went into the middle room, which he doesn't get to go into often, and he automatically started putting his finger in the outlet
because he was trying to show you to put the plug in there. He was pointing to the outlet.
I unplugged it for our child's safety, just so you know.
He has my brain.
So unfortunate news, our Wi-Fi is still down. My mom's over there with Julian right now. Like,
might have to code.
Yeah,
maybe.
So we're gonna have to get to it. Late night code session.
Coding,
me and you, baby.
GPT.
Don't get me started on Chat GPT. Anyway, so back to our usual weather update. Yes. Gorgeous weather today on April 13th. Mm-hmm. Senora Vibes this morning told me that we were going to have a low of 55 and a high of 82. Mm-hmm. However, so super sunny, really, really pretty, but the allergies suck. Oh, God. The oak is high and the mold is high. And every time I find that the mold is high, I get a very bad headache. Yeah. And every time the oak is high, you get cancer.
Yes. I get asthma.
You get pretty bad asthma.
In the terms of our friend Job and Joseph, you got that asthma. And
speaking of asthma, usually, guys, I have my drink selection here. I have a hydration, a caffeine, and something fizzy. Today, I only have something fizzy. And Ribu wanted to contribute his kind of side to his story. He didn't want to do drinks. What do you have here?
I felt like when you brought drinks, they were unnecessary. And it really
why do you have to dig in?
It really painted a picture that we have more than we actually need.
Okay.
For me, these are life-saving medications that I need, and I want to display that to the world. And next time, think about that when you have 3 drinks.
Okay. I will. I think
Advair and
I was going to say, what are they? Okay. And both asthma, and you're taking them daily?
Advair twice a day, albuterol as needed, but I did take it today. My asthma's pretty bad right now.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. He was
I don't know, my voice a little
You're
sexy.
not like what's it called? Like wheezing. You just can't breathe. Right?
Exactly. SOB. I'm a SOB.
Super SOB. Yeah. So that's the weather update. Ribu, back to you with the sports.
Sports update coming up. It's been about a month, and we've had a terrible month. It's pretty much the everything we're starting off with is terrible. The terrible month.
There's good news to this podcast.
There's a terrible month in sports. The Dallas Mavericks did not make the playoffs after trading for Kyrie. I'm sure one of the previous episodes Y'all heard me say I'm excited for it. Turns out I'm not that excited for it. We did not make the playoffs. Don't know if he's going to resign. Luka looks upset. Who knows what's going on with him? Probably too much eating. And I don't know. So in sports, we have
not much of
the play-in tournaments going right now, which is fun to watch. But
you watch the Masters?
Yes. If anyone gave me tickets for the Masters, just you know what? If you can give me tickets for the Masters, I'll let you come to one of my infusions.
It's one of your chemo appointments.
One of my chemo. You are allowed at MD Anderson. I can bring a visitor, and
I will forfeit my visit
for the Masters.
The Masters look so cool.
It does.
They look so. It looks.
Who the golfers?
No. Well, the Augusta.
The Patriot.
In general, like the golf course is so pretty.
Yeah.
And it's so like iconic.
It is, and it was a great tournament. John Rahm won. And
Spaniard.
Phil Mickelsonian, as we call him, I think, what was he, third or second? So that was exciting to watch, John Rahm. And John Rahm's playing this weekend at the RBC.
Hey, does he ever start? How much did he win at the Masters?
I'll be playing in the GCI May 5th and through 7th. Also
is that another exclusive
prestigious golf tournament. Placed second last year. And funny story. Go
ahead and explain what GCI is.
GCI is the Gulf Coast Invitational. It's only through invite only through Chris Carroll. And, if you don't know him, you're probably not going to get invited. And where is it? It is in the Gulf Coast. So like Rockport and
Port Aransas.
That's the only places I know down there. Only 2 places I've been. But last year, it's a 2-man scramble. And we placed second. But on the 17th hole, we were first. And so I called my mom. And she knew I had this tournament coming up, so I called my mom, and I was like, Mom, we're gonna win. We're gonna win the tournament. And she's like, we're so proud of you. She's like, great job. My dad was in the back. He's like, great job. You're gonna win this tournament. I was like, yeah. We were on the cart driving up to the 18th hole. I was like, hey, let me call you back. Let me just finish up this hole. I'll call you after we win. And so we're on the 18th hole, and we just fuck it up. We shit the bed on the last hole, and we literally had like 3 putts to win, and we didn't win.
Who was your partner?
Ethan. Yeah, Ethan. And Jeremy and Daniel were the people who won.
This sounds like a very like for real tournament. Don't get it twisted, guys. This is just put on by PT classmates that have been doing this since PT school.
Professionals. This is up there with the Masters.
I remember before we got married, we went to this same GCI Invitational.
10 years running.
Yeah, and I went with you. Was I pregnant? No, I wasn't pregnant because I was getting drunk on the beach. And you were like, it's a golf tournament, whatever. So my family, we love Port Aransas. So we went and did like a little vacation, and you came, but you did your own thing at this golf tournament. Yep. You had work to do, essentially, is what was happening. So we chill. My family and I are like, well, come meet us. We're talking to you like, hey, babe, come meet us at this restaurant. We're having dinner and like drinks on the water, whatever. This guy comes in obliterated, so drunk. And you were such on a high because y'all did. I can't remember what year this was, but you did really. You and Jeremy did really well. And when y'all two get together, y'all drink a ton.
Yeah, that was fun.
And you were so drunk, and that was the first time my family like saw you drunk, which they don't see you drunk often because you don't really get too drunk often. But you were
that day. I did.
And I just remember they were like, "Oh my God, he just talks so much when he's drunk," because they're like, "Oh, he was just in a great mood." I was like, "Guys." Because he was drunk. Because you were just talking like a mile a minute. You were asking everybody. You were like in a really jovial spirit. Yeah, we were at Virginia's on the Bay. And
that day we were at the resort. Was it Palmetto?
That's where your tournament was.
It was. And I remember I went to the bar, and it was me and Jeremy. Before we were teeing off, and I was like, hey, Jeremy, you want a drink? And the guy was like, hey, the bartender was like, you want to try a tequila sunrise? Never heard of it.
You've never heard of a tequila sunrise?
Me and Jeremy probably drank 5, 6, 7 of those each. And all we kept playing over and over again on Spotify was Many Men, He meant 50 Cent. Oh, I don't even think we played that well. but
and I think you said y'all were started taking shots as well.
Yeah, we started taking shots.
And that just goes south. But I mean, like, where else do you want to be like drunk than on a golf course on the beach?
Yeah,
you know,
playing golf,
playing golf with your buddies.
With no worries.
Yeah. Good times. Anyway, so today's episode, that's a sports update. Today's episode is going to be catching up on the past month from our last episode. Remember the last episode, in episode 5, we talked about Rib coming back from 5 days of radiation on his backside.
On my hip. On my hip.
On his hip. We revealed his new job as CEO and leaving the other job. Mm-hmm. And then we were waiting on like the next steps with everything medically before everything started happening. So before we get into that, let's get into our first segment, Peaks and Pits.
You go first.
Okay, so my peak is, it was such a good peak. It was just great.
Yeah,
so my peak is that the C Word Chronicles podcast TikTok popped off.
Yeah.
On the best day possible to pop off.
Was that the day after my vision?
So, no, that was the morning of Ribu's first day of chemo, which we will get into. We're in Houston, and I had posted a week beforehand. I had posted this video on the C Word Chronicles TikTok. It got like 100 views. Very small account. Trying to grow it, as you know, like that's what I do, but it takes time to grow. Yeah. So I did this. I did it in this style that I knew was good. I knew it was good. It was like the storytelling cliffhanger thing. And so I'm like, okay, it didn't get a ton of views as I wanted. That's okay. So I go to sleep. When did you have? So I go to sleep Sunday night. Mm-hmm. And then we're up in the morning, chemo day. We had other stuff to deal with that we'll talk about later. And so I had not checked my TikTok. So we go into we go into MD Anderson, just me and Rib, and we're sitting there with a bunch of old people who have cancer because they are all bald. And it was like a little depressing. I was very nervous. We were kind of a little nervous. It was just a big day, right? So I'm like, oh, okay, let me finally sit down and check my TikTok. Yeah. And so I checked the TikTok, and notifications, like 500 notifications. I thought it was on my other account, the baby PT, which, not to brag, but I'm used to that many notifications. Jeez. So I was like, oh, okay, a video went off, like popped off, whatever. And then I saw that it was for the C Word Chronicles TikTok, and it popped off, and that was so it was the perfect time because it gave us a distraction because we were like nervous and scared. And then I was like, babe, like, look, our video popped off.
It popped off fast too. Like, we went from,
but it popped off. It was, when I checked it, it was at 90,000 views, I think. Beforehand, it was like at 210 views. Yeah. So like literally overnight, somebody must have like boosted that algorithm or whatever.
You said the story really well on there. If you haven't seen it, go to the C Word Chronicles podcast and look at.
So it's just like, as far as like a content creator, it was so,
you know what's
gratifying.
Crazy is you've done it on multiple accounts, like your baby T TikTok. You've had multiple viral, and then your Instagram reels, you had multiple viral. Yeah. And then you did it again on a whole new one.
I know. So it was so now it's at like 350K views, and like so many comments. And in that video particularly, so many people had told kind of their story with their experience with cancer, or a loved one with cancer.
Yeah, that's true.
The video I talked about was, I summed up episode 1 of this podcast into, I think, a minute or 2 video. I talked really fast. I put a lot of emojis and graphics to explain it. Yeah. And then at the end, I left it on a cliffhanger and said, that's just episode 1. And yeah, so many people, like I feel like we found another community within social media just on TikTok, on our TikTok. Like they were like rooting for you guys. Yeah. Somebody was like, I live in Houston. I have another room if you need it, blah, blah, blah. Like strangers too. Cause you know, I think before there was like 50, 80 followers, and a lot of them were from my account that followed me over. So it was crazy because these are like all
we're like 1,500 now,
people.
Right?
Yeah, it's like 1,500. We're doing really well. I was like super proud.
Yeah.
And just in my head, I was like, this is a good video.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it's just not, or it's not getting views because we're not a big account yet, which is normal. And I was like, we're going to just keep being consistent and whatever. And then when it like went viral on the day that was like the best distraction, it was just perfect.
Yeah. I mean, you did a good job with it.
Thanks.
You kept posting.
Follow us at the SeaWorld Chronicles.
The SeaWorld Chronicles. Watch the video and give it a like, follow, and a mention. And yeah, I mean, to have multiple accounts that do that, you found a little secret. Yeah. It's probably you.
Oh, thanks, babe.
Bro.
Yeah. So anyways, that was my peak.
My peak?
What's your peak?
I actually have 2 peaks again. Twin peaks. The first peak is the amount of support. I mean, from people since the podcast dropped. So the podcast, when it dropped, no one knew about the cancer before the podcast dropped.
Right.
Even a lot of my family. And so once the podcast dropped, everyone knows now, which is great because there's been so much support in terms of like reaching out to me. And I love it. Each single person that reaches out gives me strength. And so I appreciate everyone who's reached out. And even if you haven't reached out, like just thinking about me, it gives me strength. The amount of prayers and all that kind of stuff. Like I knew people would reach out, but like it's like overwhelmingly, and I'm so grateful and honored that people take the time to reach out and message. And it's family, it's friends, it's people I don't even know, I've never met before.
Yeah. Super special.
And it's people, just like work people I've worked with in the past. And it's people just I haven't seen in a long time who are like, can I come over to the house, or can I see you, and stuff like that. And so, I mean, you can't be nothing but grateful, and that's for sure a peak. Like even today, I get messages from people just finding out or watching the podcast or scrolling through Instagram.
Right.
And so,
yeah, the support has been crazy, which is like another little segment we'll get into. Yeah. But I mean, it's definitely a peak on for both of us too.
And the other peak is the TV show we watched.
Ooh.
And the TV show we watched was called Beef.
John, you seen it?
And we are okay.
Somebody watch it and tell us.
And I think it just came out, but we're okay with watching TV shows and like, slowly going through it. We binged this thing
in
1.5 days. Yeah. And it's with Ali Wong. It's an all Asian cast.
Love it. Love.
One white guy. Andrew
Santino. My favorite person in the world.
And you have more than me.
He's up there.
And he's white. It's great to hear. White people always get whatever they want, right? All Asian cast, one white guy. And it's just like a different storyline.
It's top. It is one of the top Netflix shows ever, period. Like it is so good.
Yeah, it's for sure up there.
It is so well written. It is like so diverse within like the Asian actors. Like I was watching this thing and they were like, it's a big deal that it's an all Asian cast because they can just be people, not the stereotype of an Asian actor.
Yeah, like none of them were like stereotypical.
Right. Like, and so you really got to like see their experience, and like the show is just it's so good.
Did Ali Wong write it too?
I don't think she wrote it. No, I don't think so.
And her stand-up her first one was so funny.
Yeah, she's great. She's killing it.
Yeah. So that was great because that was like going into Houston this past week.
Yeah, it was a nice little uplifting.
And like every end of every episode was like a cliffhanger.
I think we stayed up till
like 1:00.
We stayed up watching Beef until on that Friday when it dropped. That Friday when it dropped, we stayed up till 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Which when you have a baby, that's like suicide.
And you're driving the next morning.
And then did we go to Houston the next morning? Yeah, right. Yeah.
We did it for the Asians.
Yeah, it was so good. I highly, highly recommend it. Okay, my pit. Are you ready?
Yes.
I think we have to put Karen and Brenda up for adoption.
Karen is...
Do you remember who Karen and Brenda are?
I know Brenda. Brenda I can care less about. Brenda's had some sort of deformity since I met her.
Oh my God. How could you say that about our children?
Brenda I never noticed.
Okay.
Karen and I have a little attachment.
Karen and Brenda are my house plants. Yeah. Karen is a 7 foot fiddly fig, and Brenda is a.
Yeah, what is Brenda?
Brenda is a
4-leaf clover.
Shoot, what is Brenda, John? Brenda is a birds of paradise. I was about to say that. A beautiful birds of paradise. I was about to say that. Birds. And I have to give him up for adoption.
But why? Is because Juju's still getting into him?
Because our son keeps getting into the dirt, and it's not so much the dirt, but Karen has like decorative rocks on top. Mm-hmm. And this boy thinks they're Cheerios and keeps putting them in his mouth. And I have blocked it. I've done like as much as I can to get him from like staying away from there. And then
why don't we move Karen upstairs?
Because Karen's freaking heavy. Like, how are we going to do that? Sure, and where do we put her? Juju goes everywhere upstairs too. I've already thought about it. I'm like, I can't put her outside because it's too hot.
He doesn't go into that back room. We could just put him in there until he is Juju's of age. Where I discipline.
I can't. Get out Karen of there, needs a better home right now. John, do you want to adopt Karen? John's a plant dad as well.
Yeah, he's a plant dad. He knows birds of paradise. He knows fiddle leaf.
But anyways, I think it's time because let me tell you why. So I'm doing work on the sofa the other day, and Juju plays behind the sofa into our dining room, and we have everything baby proofed except for Brenda. And Brenda is a birds of paradise and like this
decorative,
and this really pretty decorative, like before you have a baby decorative pot.
Yeah.
And it has moss on top, like really lovely green moss for that vibrancy, you know?
That's right.
So I'm like, man, Juju is awfully quiet. And usually I know exactly what he's doing because I can hear him playing with specific toys. Mm-hmm. Dead quiet. I turn around, I look, he has a mouthful of moss in his mouth, about to just have like at the freaking salad buffet, eating a whole thing of moss. And I was like, Juju! And so I ripped the moss out of his hand, and he didn't swallow it, I think.
He had it in his hand, right?
But he was just like kind of about to, or he had it in his mouth, but it was like such a big wad of moss that I don't think could swallow it yet. Yeah. But I was like, this is the last straw.
I mean, Juju, Karen, or Brenda? Which one?
I think it's time.
Yeah, I'm choosing Karen.
You're choosing Karen over your son?
I mean, at this point, I'm just kidding.
So if you're
love you, son, when you watch this, I was just joking.
San Antonio area and you want a 7, I think Karen is like 7 feet.
She's about my height, 6'5". We're about the same.
Yeah, she's tall.
Yeah,
and she's heavy.
She's thick.
And she's thick, and she's in a big ass pot. Ooh. So I think it's time because the panic that ensues every time.
I say we throw her in the back room.
No, that is so sad. It's like
You'd rather give her up?
All that work? A better home.
We're a better home.
AKA John.
Yeah. He can nourish her.
Anyway, so that's my pit. Have a kid, they said.
Yeah.
There goes all your plants. All your house plants.
I don't think I would notice.
You would not. I moved Karen. I rotated her.
I saw that. Mm-hmm. I was like, why do we rotate? You brought him closer to Juju.
Don't get me started on why we rotate, Ribu.
Yeah, I don't think I would notice. I would notice if Juju left, though.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah. My pit, though, is, as you guys know, I got a Ford. I got a Ford Lariat. How do you say it? Lariat F-150. On the last episode, which was about a month ago.
That was your cancer purchase?
That was my cancer purchase. It was a good purchase, but it probably wasn't the wisest purchase. And not because the truck's wrong or anything like that, but because it came with 26-inch rims. And who am I to be flexing 26-inch rims, right? Anyways.
Hey, it was a cancer purchase.
It was. And we're driving a lot to Houston, Dallas, all this stuff with the rims. And a bubble forms in my tire. And we're at this moment where we're in Houston already. The bubble's on the tire, and I have to get to an appointment, and I got to change the tire. I don't want it to pop with my family in the car. And so go to Discount Tire, and they're like, we don't sell 26-inch tire or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay. Like, I thought they were just out of stock. And they're like, no. And so I called everyone else, the little Pep Boys, Goodyear, everyone. because I had to hurry up and get a change, and they're like, we won't even install it. We don't even sell that. So guys, I downgraded to a 20.
Oh, it's a 20? I didn't know it was that different.
To a comfortable, secure,
sensible,
stable, responsible ride.
Yeah.
And I didn't get, they only had one set of rims. I had to change the rims and the tires.
Oh my God, that was so stressful.
And so good thing my dad was there because he helped me
yeah,
take the tires in and out of the car and stuff like that. But if you're looking for 26-inch rims with a tire, reach out to me or Olivia.
Yeah, they'll be posted
We'll
soon.
Also include, you can come to the infusion with me.
Hey, you want a houseplant?
Also, yeah, and possibly Brenda or Karen will be included in that purchase. But that's my pit was having to pay that much money for all new tires, all new rims.
I mean, yeah, that was pretty.
And I like those 26s.
Yeah, they were different for sure. It's so low. Like we rode back when he got them all fixed. It was so low, smoother ride.
Yeah, it does make more sense.
I felt safer
with the new tires.
We were going to Houston for his chemo, and in my head, we'll get into it. There were so many barriers to freaking just getting to Houston for Monday's chemo, insurance, all of this stuff, and we literally kept saying, we just got to get to Monday. We just got to get to Monday. We just got to get to chemo. And we're in the truck, and he hits a pothole, and I'm like,
I didn't say pothole. Didn't want to tell people that part of the story.
He hits a pothole, which it wasn't
it was in the middle of the highway.
Like a normal. It wasn't like anything crazy.
Ron Nierenberg, can you freaking fix your potholes in the middle of the highway?
So I'm like, okay, no, and so we stopped to get food, and he looks at this bubble on the wheel, and I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna have a blowout.
Literally, Liv didn't notice the bubble the whole time. The moment we get in the car, she's like, is that why why all this is happening?
You showed me the bubble. Relax, and I said, great.
As a mechanic, yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so I was like, this is whoever up there saying like, we're gonna make this journey to Houston
with a bubble,
and like I'm in my head, I'm like, we're gonna have a blowout
because it was Easter Sunday.
It was Easter Sunday. Nothing's open. We're in the middle of nowhere. Like, what are we supposed to do if we do?
We're like halfway there.
This blowout. Juji would not go to sleep, so he was like so fussy. I was like, I have enough bottles for him, and then in my head, I'm like, I will stay in this car. You go. Like, you will get to freaking Monday. Yeah, I was like, you are going to get your chemo. I was like, whatever you got to do.
As long as I have this Advair and this albuterol, nothing will stop.
I was like, you are getting to chemo on Monday. Yeah. And it was it was a lot of limitations.
I was driving slow and steady.
Oh my God, it was so stressful. Okay, so let's get into the next segment. Rib kind of touched on it already. This is exclusively for this episode. We want to thank everyone for the support. Again, crazy. As you know, we filmed 5 episodes before anybody knew, 1, that we were making a podcast, but more importantly, 2, that somebody has cancer.
Sure.
So it was when we released when we said, hey, we started this podcast, and also, hey, somebody has cancer, which was on March 15th. Yeah, March 15th. The outpouring of messages, both for Rib from his family and friends, but also from my family, my friends, and then my followers, was like tremendous. And we literally cannot thank y'all enough for the support, the messages, the follows, like the liking the videos. We see you. And like, we wanted to just take the time to just really like sit in that and like value that much support. It means so much to us.
It's been awesome.
I think separate, like there's 2 things, like the support from Rib having cancer has been great, but also the support that we've gotten from people liking the podcast, like separate from the cancer, but just like, they're like, this is a great podcast. Yeah. And like, it's so funny, and it's like so entertaining. We got a lot of really great feedback. So that is like really, really helpful too, because really we were both nervous about starting a podcast, but also like obviously telling people that you were going through this journey together. Yeah. So
like I thought in the beginning when we dropped the podcast, we would just get like 50 views.
Right.
Like even like the amount we got, I'm like, I never thought we would get that much.
Yeah. And like people following us on the C Word, like Instagram and TikTok.
Close to 100 subscribers. Like I didn't think that would happen.
I think
it's not a big number, but it's like more than I.
No, in my head, it was just a goal to break 50 for subscribers on YouTube, because I feel like YouTube is definitely the hardest to grow. Yeah. It's slower. So I was like, if we can just get 50 subscribers, and a certain amount of views, then I'll be happy. So it like surpassed both of those goals.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, with the TikTok, there's a great following there and tons of support. And then also on the Instagram specifically, has just been great. Some of y'all's reviews on the podcast are so funny. One of them was just saying like, this is the best podcast ever. The chemistry. My brother-in-law actually was like, if you didn't know y'all were together, he was like, I was watching, like, y'all should date. Like really good chemistry. Yeah. And we've heard that kind of, that was
I like when they'll text me like funny things we say on the podcast. Cause like, I like how it's like, I mean, I think we're just those people, but it's not like heavy where we're like,
no, right.
Answer.
Yeah. I some of my followers from the Big BPT messaged me on that account saying like, I've had a very close experience with cancer. It was either like a relative or them themselves had cancer. And they were like, I was really reluctant to listen because it just seemed like too devastating and too close to home.
Yeah.
But they said, all of them just said like, you have a really good approach with it being funny, informative, and kind of light at the same time. And I really appreciate that, because that was kind of like our goal. One of our goals to starting this whole thing. Yeah. And then I just love like the feedback. Shout out to specifically Clara.
Oh yeah.
From PT cool. School. Hey girl, I know you're watching.
Yeah, thanks Clara.
She sends this like report from every episode and through my DMs. And
I love them. I look forward to it.
Yeah, and it's there. So she went to school. She was a year above us in school. And she also married.
Shout out to Yusuf.
Somebody from PT school too. So she just like says, "Hey, I watched this episode," and she has like bullet points of everything she likes and everything that like resonated with her. And I love it, because I think a lot of people think like, you're doing the podcast, you don't. I don't know, like you maybe don't care what people think, but it's so nice to hear her like, oh, this part was funny, or this was really like impactful, or I had the same experience. Like she had a lot of the same experience dating outside of her race as well, and then marrying Yusuf, who is outside of her race as well. So like lots of like similarities and stuff. And then everybody else has just been really great.
I think that's good too, is like the similarities. Like either it be like that or the people who've had cancer who've reached out, or who've had thyroid issues who've reached out.
Totally. Like, that reminded me, one of them who I went to high school with, she was a year below me, I think, and she reached out and she watched the first episode very quickly, and she said that she has Graves' disease, and because we talked about the experience with it turning into cancer, she's like, you have help me be more on top of my health and like take it seriously and things like that, and kind of know what to look for and stuff like that. But yeah, so like lots of people were just connecting with all sorts of different things, and it's just so cool to hear it now, because we were obviously like doing these in the dark essentially with no feedback. So this is the first episode that we'll get like live feedback from. So I'm super excited about that. So yeah, we can't thank all of y'all enough, and like for the support and stuff. Okay, so let's get into our next segment where we fill everyone in on what's happened since the last episode. So March 15th, we launched the pod.
Yep.
And our last episode was March 1st. So then March.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, March 1st.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. And then.
Rusty.
Yeah, I'm like, it's definitely a muscle you got to keep working to pod. And then we had three birthdays.
Had a new birthday.
We had a new birthday.
Our new niece Kaya was born. She is the youngest of 4, but she's a fighter already.
And I feel one of those things, like we have yet to meet her, which has been the longest that we've gone. Obviously, like when the others were born, we were there immediately.
Sure.
And so I was just, when I was writing this out, I was like, oh my gosh, we haven't even met her. But in my head, I'm like, you know, it's just been, we've just been so busy. And I know obviously your family understands, but it's crazy. Like when you're so busy that it's crazy the difference of, we would have been there immediately, but like with everything going on, we weren't able to like go pop up and see her.
Yeah. Well, I started the job and then I had like multiple appointments in Houston.
Tons of appointments and stuff.
And so I mean, they obviously they know, but yeah, she was born, she's healthy and thriving, and that's a peak. Should have been my peak.
Yeah.
A better peak.
Cutie pie.
Yeah. And so she was born, and then Juji's birthday.
Juji's first birthday, March 18th. He turned one. We did like just a little, none of Rib's family could be here for his birthday because Kaya was just born. So it was just like my family was super small. Yeah. We did like a smash cake.
He loves The Hungry Caterpillar.
He loves the book, The Hungry Caterpillar. So we had like a little bit of a theme, and it was like fun and really sweet. And then my birthday on the 20th, my 33rd birthday.
What did we do for your birthday again?
We didn't do much. It was like chill. We had you had to go to Houston on my birthday.
I did.
You got imaging, remember? And you came back. And
that's right.
Yeah, so Rib, we couldn't really do much, which is fine. I'm not like a big birthday person, but he had to go on
that's right. I had to get
Sunday.
At 6, right? Yeah.
No, you stayed overnight, remember?
Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah, you had, I know it's all a blur. Yeah. You had to stay overnight. And then my birthday was the next day. You got the image and then you came back, and I think we just went to the movies.
That's right. We watched Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah. So that was my birthday. And then the 31st, March 31st was Rib's last day of work, which we talked about in the last episode.
And that was great. Like everyone at work was so cool. I mean, I spent 2.5 years there at Morningside. Shout out to Morningside Ministries for all your skilled nursing needs. And they were real cool. They threw me like a going away thing at both places. And I mean, I had good relationships at both spots. So it was hard leaving, but there, everyone was so nice. Yeah,
it was really a great little send off.
Yeah.
And then, so that's March 31st. And then Easter, we spent driving up to MD Anderson.
That's right.
Easter Sunday, we drove down to MD Anderson. And then let's talk about a little bit about, no. Let me keep going through my timeline. And then April 3rd, you started your new job last week.
Yeah, April 3rd, started a new job.
And then the 10th was the first day of chemo.
Yep.
Yeah, so I went backwards. Sorry. I went out of order. Okay, so let's talk about MD Anderson. So that was, like we said, a journey to get there. It was like somebody was like, "You're gonna get to chemo on Monday, but we're gonna make it really, really freaking hard for you." Tell everybody about your mother loving insurance. And
my
how
goodness!
You were not.
So like, I start the new job on April 3rd, but the week before that, which is the week before that, can't tell you dates. Everything's set up for me to get chemo, right? Yes. The doctor's all cool with it. I'm cool with it. I signed the consent forms. On like a week before chemo starts, I get a message from the doctor saying, your insurance, it doesn't want to pay for, your insurance is going to deny the chemo. And she suggests I call my senator.
You know it's bad.
I was like, motherfucking Ted Cruz?
You know it's bad when a doctor says to call your
call
senator.
Ted Cruz? Isn't it what, John Cornyn?
Oh, no.
Corny-ass Cornyn. I'm supposed to call Cruz and Cornyn and tell them I have cancer.
No.
I don't even have Cruz. If anyone has Cruz's cell phone number, you can come with me to my next infusion.
I was like, great. We're at that point where we're trying to call senators.
Yeah.
We're
it's bad. Like when somebody says call your senator,
bad.
It's like it. How are you supposed to call your senator?
We were literally, it was just so stressful because I was like, we are getting this damn chemo, like no matter what.
That was a hard day because she texted me and it was already like 4:00. So I call my insurance and I'm like, hey, I just heard they're not going to pay for my insurance. She's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I just heard. She's like, backtrack. This B, I'm not going to say her name, at my insurance, she calls me a week before I find out I'm not getting approved. And she's like, hey, just to let you know, I figured it out. We're going to have to go to this independent review and we'll get your chemo approved. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, what happens if it doesn't get approved? She's like, Ribu, let's not talk about that. I'm like, bitch, like, what do you mean let's not talk about that? Like, we need a plan if it doesn't get approved.
Yeah.
And she's like, no. She's like, let's not talk about that. I'm like, whatever. Tell me what happens. And anyway, she refuses to tell me. Come to find out, it doesn't get approved, right? Mm-hmm. Like the doctor texted me. This is a week forward now. The doctor texted me saying, you know,
the doctor texted you saying, hey, you have really bad insurance.
You have really bad insurance, and you know, I just talked to the doctor doing the independent review from the insurance, and they don't think they're going to approve of the chemo. You should call your senator. Now that's while I was in a meeting, and so I was like, it's 4:00, and I'm like, I just have 1 week to work on this, and it's like, who's supposed to help me?
Yeah.
And so that same day, I was supposed to meet up with Jeremy and Chris for dinner, and which I did. But like as I'm driving there, I'm calling like anyone I could, except for Ted Cruz, because there's no way to get a hold of Ted Cruz.
Right.
And so call the insurance. I call like all these other people, and they're like, we don't know. We're not sure what to do. But shout out to Michaela Johnson over at Springtime.
If we could hug you, we would.
I've mentioned her numerous times, and Michaela, Mac, we're pretty cool. No, I don't know. Like Michaela, I call her and I send her an email saying this is urgent. They're not approving a chemo. She calls me back, and they close like at 6, but she calls me back like at 6 and is like, hey, what's going on? So I tell her everything, and she's like, no. She's like, you are going to get approved. And I was like, thank you. I was like, Ted Cruz wouldn't do this for me.
Yeah, obviously.
She calls me. She's like, let me get back to you on Monday. This is like a Friday or a Thursday. So she calls me on Monday. She's like, everything's approved. She's like, I was like, wait, what did you do? And she's like, we just told them. You have to approve of, this is chemo. This is life-saving medication. Yeah. Like,
oh, geez.
And I was like, but I'm so grateful she did that. But in my head, I was like, that's it?
I know.
Like, like you're telling them the obvious, like this is life-saving medication.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, okay. And before that, we were prepared to pay for the first round.
I was going to pay.
How much were we going to pay?
So like for 6 weeks. So they'll give me like a pack of medicine. Trial, yeah. So I'm on like an oral chemo. So every day I take an oral tablet, 2 of them. And then every 6 weeks for like maybe the next 2 years. So the oral tablet's supposed to be like, if it's working, maybe the rest of my life. That's my understanding now. Yeah. And infusion is like maybe up to 2 years every 6 weeks, right?
Right.
They were going to charge me just for the first 6 weeks of this thing, $10,000.
Yep.
And like, what are you supposed to do? Like, that's the whole point of like saving money and like making money is to do things to save your life, right?
Right.
But it's like, all I kept thinking about was like, well, I'll be alive for another 6 weeks, and you know, my family would have helped, and everyone would have helped.
Yeah, of course.
But it's just like the premise of it. It's like,
it's crazy.
$10,000 to get.
Yeah,
chemo.
I know. And then of course I know we said in the last podcast or whatever podcast of how like, man, what do people do who don't have the means to do that, or don't have, or like their insurance sucks like this, but they don't know what else to do, or like, God, that just is awful.
Yeah.
I think that's just terrible. Of course we were like, okay, it could be triple that. We'll make it work. Like we are getting this mother freaking chemo. Yeah, like we were so.
I told, and we have a great research nurse at MD Anderson. I was like, no matter what happens,
you put me down for Monday.
I was like April, because everything was scheduled for April 10th.
Yeah.
I was like, no matter what happens, if it's private pay, if insurance pays, if they pay half, I'm going to come April 10th and I'm getting an infusion. Yeah. And
because it has been so long, because we have been waiting for the genetic
that was a whole
testing to see if there's like a mutation with his tumor, and they sent it to, or they like effed something up, so it's not in yet. So the chemo, the targeted therapy, was delayed because we couldn't see what mutations there were to target because somebody messed up. And I think it's just like this thing. And then like with the insurance, somebody messed up. Somebody dropped the ball. And so this whole time you get like this glimmer of hope because Rib got a date to start, because they were like, we got to get started. It's been forever. Like we should probably get started. So you get this little thing of hope, and then it's like insurance doesn't want to do this.
Yeah.
Something else happens. The genetic thing with something else. We get a freaking tire issue where we're going to be stranded on the freaking side of the road and we're going to walk. But in our heads, I was like, you are starting on Monday.
Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna be there. I need to get my infusion. I need to get started on something.
We are starting on it.
This is like too much. But like, that was crazy. Like that whole insurance thing. Cause it felt like helpless at the time.
Yeah, you just feel so helpless.
What do? Like literally, if somebody says call your senator, like that's probably the most.
Yeah, that was like out of left field.
Because it seems like.
Because she didn't know either. Like she was like, you can tell that's like
good advice.
She's
trying to give me good advice.
I literally don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So we finally get there on Monday, and I finally get to go to MD Anderson.
She got accepted.
I got in.
So we get to MD Anderson, and typically when you're a visitor and you come in, you're really there for the patient, right? Like you're really there.
Ribu, shut your face.
You're really there for the patient, for his needs, for my needs, and you're just kind of coming to appointments. Olivia walks in, and the first thing we walk in through one of the entrances, and you pass by Cafe Anderson, which is the kitchen.
Cafeteria.
And I'm like, let me grab something quick to eat real quick. I got to hurry up and get to an appointment. It's really about me today. And Liv comes in. She's like, oh my God, we got to try the dumplings. They're all over TikTok. And it took us like 30 minutes because she's like ordering specific dumplings and like Asian, all this food. And I'm sitting there. I'm like,
it's not all over TikTok.
PF Chang's. This is Cafe Anderson.
A follower told me, when you go to MD Anderson, make sure you get the loaded chicken dumplings.
So get the loaded
chicken dumplings from MD Anderson Cafe or whatever. They're the best. And so you're the one who was like, let's get something to eat. And literally when we walk in is to my right, a big sign that says loaded chicken dumplings. They were delicious. They were so good.
They were good.
They're really good.
Yeah. If you're there, get them, but not when your appointment's right away.
Okay, so funny story of when I walk into MD Anderson. So Ribu's dad drops me off because remember, Rib has the truck. He was exchanging these freaking tires. And so Rib's dad drops me off. We're staying again at the Intercontinental, so it's not far. He drops me off. I'm like so excited to actually go in and not be denied of going in. So the security guard like asks me questions, whatever. I get in and Rib's like, just sit in the waiting area, like in the foyer. I'll be right down from my appointments. I'm sitting there, I'm looking at everybody. It's super busy. There's like workers, you can tell because they're like young, healthy, and in scrubs. And then there's everybody else who is a patient and they're not looking so good, right? Like some of them are older. I was definitely the youngest in there by far, right? So it's kind of quiet, it's mellow. It's like a really nice little serene vibe. And then I'm like, man, where is Rib? Like, God. And so I turn around and he is walking with a pep in his step with his little MD Anderson backpack. And then I see him. And so I'm standing up to like go meet him. And he's like, welcome to MD Anderson. Like a tour guide, and super loud. And like all the other like people cancer are patients. Like, oh God, who is this guy? Is he a patient? So obnoxious. And so then he's like, let me give you a tour. To the left is the...
And the biggest thing if I'm giving a tour, I told her, is like, do not, this is my people here now. Do not embarrass me in front of my people.
Right.
There's a professionalism.
Yes, he is the president of MD Anderson. So he gave me the VIP tour. We started at Cafe Anderson.
We started at Cafe Anderson. We made our way through the chapel.
Right.
Past elevator C.
Yes.
Went to elevator A.
Dude, the amount of walking we did. God. Literally the Sky Bridge, which
Thank
I know.
the Lord for albuterol.
I know. Yeah, I know we've talked about.
2 puffs and pass.
Rib has talked about the Sky Bridge in previous episodes. Ugh. He didn't describe it right. That thing
it's better.
Is a massive highway that is like 3,000 miles long.
Yeah.
It's so long. We walked. Of course, we didn't wear our watches to see how many steps that was, but like, good Lord, that was so long. It went
from one end of the Sky Bridge to the Maze Clinic. Yeah.
Yeah, because he had his appointment at one end, and you had done it before, like on There and Back. And there's like, it's so wide of a bridge and it's all inside glass carpet, right? It's so big that, like, you know, those airport shuttles that take old people to their gate, like they're open shuttles. It's not like a golf cart. It's like this thing. There's shuttles all over the place. It's like a full ass highway on this sky bridge. And I was like, can we take the shuttle? But then you got to walk it. You got to walk it because the ones that are taking the shuttles, are like, oh, like they need the super sick. Like they need the seats. And I was like, we're healthy. We're fine. We can't take the shuttle. Yeah. So we're trekking it. We have our masks on. I haven't worn a mask in a long time. Yeah. I am sweating. Like, you know, you get that like sweaty upper lip with glaze. The mask. Oh, it was awful. Mask glaze. It was awful. And then I was like, they should have vendors like on the side of this little sky bridge.
And you're in the sky bridge and there's like, it's like a highway. Like you have exits like Rotary House, Pickens Tower, Duncan Building, Mays Clinic. And like for me, I explored all of it. And the thing I like about it, it's so big, it gives me a little bit of comfort. For instance, if I have to go to the bathroom, I'm the type of person, if I got to go to the bathroom, I prefer a place that's nice, quiet, little feng shui.
Right. Like off the beaten path, not the common.
Exactly. So if I'm somewhere, I try to find like a bathroom. Because if I'm going, you know, and I'm making all these noises in the bathroom, I prefer it's just me hearing it. Right. You got to be respectful to the others around. And so for me, it's just been a habit. Like I find the bathrooms that are.
In this tour, he was like, I'm going to show you one of my favorite bathrooms.
It's my secret bathroom. Yeah. At MD Anderson, because I've never had anyone walk in there. Right. As you can tell, I've went to the bathroom a lot at MD Anderson. Something about that place makes my intestines move. And so I showed her the bathroom. I showed her, you know, everywhere else. I'm not going to mention the bathrooms.
We went all over. Yeah. We went to get your infusion. Yes. And that was an experience too. It's so big. Yeah. And where you actually get your chemo, I only have experience from going with my mom to get her chemo. Mm-hmm. And that was just in like this big room with chairs, recliners next to each other. It's all out in the open. And you just like pull up a chair in front of them and you're literally like 10 inches away from the next person getting chemo. Yeah. So we walk into this thing and we're escorted back into a private room.
Yeah, it was nice.
With like a curtain drawn, a bed, a TV. A chair for like me, and it was like so comfy. Yeah, I was like, "This is
like I could have fell asleep."
This is VIP.
It was great,
but everybody gets it.
Like I really do think if cancer's not bad, cancer is really bad. You got to go to MD Anderson. It's just so nice.
I know it's really a great experience,
and they're very like organized.
Yes, everything is very systematic. It's like top notch. It's really cool.
Yeah, and so that was your trip there, and it was. You had a good experience. Did I show you around pretty much?
I had a great experience at MD Anderson. I was very impressed. Everybody was very
From nice. The dumplings to the bathrooms.
We got the dumplings. We got the bathrooms. We went to
first class.
Several pharmacies within that place to get things. Yeah. And the gift shop. You know I love a gift shop. Funny story about a gift shop, I got to tell you. Okay, so I did my rotation at Texas Children's in Houston. Mm-hmm. Huge children's hospital, top notch. And so I did the one where you and I lived together for what? Yeah. 16 weeks? Yeah. And so it's a long day because was I off on Fridays on that day? No. So you're just a student and you're just like crushing it and like doing long days. And so I'm done when I was towards the end of my rotation, I was very independent, like, pretty much being a PT for free, which is kind of what you want, right? And so I would finish treating all of my babies, and then it would be around like 5, maybe like 4:30, and then you have to document and chart and write all of their notes from the day if you didn't do it like between patients, right? So that's like, I don't know, 10 notes to write. So I think I was smart in saying like, okay, before I go and do all of this, I'm going to take a little field trip, a little reprieve, a walk down to the gift shop of Texas Children's. And I was doing it by myself for weeks.
Was it a long walk?
And it was like a good walk. It was like good to, actually walk because you're like sitting, treating babies all day. Like maybe you're walking around a little bit. Yeah. So I like would walk to the gift shop. The girl knew me. She's like, hey, getting your like afternoon pick me up. I would get like trail mix and like a Diet Coke or something, or like a water. Nothing crazy. I didn't have like money to be spending like at this gift shop. But my girls, shout out Nikita and Rashi, who were students with me, they're like, where are you going every day? And they're like writing their notes. I'm like, girl, you got to go to the gift shop. You got to take a little walk down to the gift shop.
Did they join you?
Get your little snack, and then you come and write your notes. You take a little break. And they would, I was like, y'all want to come? And they went I think they used to come with me. Yeah. And so like I got everybody hooked on like your little break. I'm
the
sure
best sales that gift shop ever had.
Yeah, totally. And it was like a little corner one too. It wasn't like the main one, but they had all the good like snacks and then just like a little pick me up before you go and write thousands of freaking notes, and then you're there. And
what's crazy is like you were at Texas Children's. Our place we stayed was right by MD Anderson. Like we've been around that area for
we love that area so much that we were like, should we move to Houston? Because if this guy has to do chemo every 6 weeks,
if you give us a house, we'll give you Karen and Brenda.
Yeah, totally. I think that's fair.
Yeah,
but we
could throw Juju in too, maybe.
Yeah, I mean he's pretty good. He's a good kid.
He's independent.
Yeah. But no, Houston is like, we love Houston so far. Hopefully it doesn't get like where you're,
tired.
You start getting like tired of it. Yeah. Like when we went to Dallas, when we were trying to figure out everything, and we had that horrible doctor that we would go see with awful bedside manner. Yeah. And we would have to get tests and imaging and then your surgery and stuff. We were going to Dallas like almost every other week, if not weekly. And that, which it's so sad because your family is in Dallas, but we would get like PTSD of driving to Dallas.
Yeah, because of Hussein.
Yeah, because of Dr.
I'm going to say her name. Dr. Hussein.
Dr. Hussein.
Yeah.
On my TikTok, the one that went viral, they were like, what doctor is this? Yeah. Like, what's her name? Like, is it? And then some of them were like, because I said in that TikTok that we would drive up to Dallas, and somebody was like, is that doctor with the initial, is that Dr. N from UT Southwestern? I know it is. And I was like, no, but
it's probably.
I was like, it's Dr. H. Yeah, Dr. H. And then a lot of other people were like, oh, I have
like she hasn't. I'm not even sure. Like I literally didn't tell her I was leaving her care of service. I just didn't show up for an appointment because I was at MD Anderson. She's never reached out to me.
Oh my God.
Like I don't know what normal practice is, but like I had like
you had to break up with her.
But like I feel like normal care is like, wouldn't you be wondering? You told me I had cancer and I'm supposed to come in for.
Dude, that's
an appointment, and it's like, are you supposed to reach out?
Also, so from this TikTok video, so many people were saying. So in the video, I said that we found out you had suspicion that your biopsy came back suspicious for malignancy, aka cancer, through your MyChart at 11 a.m. on a Saturday, and there was probably 500 comments talking about freaking MyChart. They were like, I found out my dad had 2 weeks to live from MyChart. A lot of people
the same way.
And they're not, and I guess they made, which I really don't know, they made a law saying that the minute results come in through your MyChart, you have to make it public.
Yeah.
And so that is like great for certain things, but when things come like suspicious for malignancy or cancer.
But for me, she messaged me. Like, it's not like I just looked at my chart and
that's
it was
like,
right. She actually messaged me on like she could have freaking typing that message. She could have typed my phone number in her phone.
That's right. Yeah. So, oh God, that's awful. But even before I knew that, or before that tidbit, everybody was like, yeah, I found out my 2-year-old son had leukemia on a Saturday when I was at Target because MyChart emailed me. Yeah. And like so many people, like I said that I didn't think anybody would know what MyChart is. And everybody's like, fucking MyChart. Like MyChart is the devil.
They should make that law like you can't release it after Friday at like, you know what I mean? Like,
somebody found out that they had HIV. Through MyChart because the labs came back.
Oh my God.
And like stuff like that. Like there was so many comments.
So you?
There was so many comments coming back of like,
somebody make a better MyChart. Well, I guess it's a law.
Yeah. I I didn't know it
Call it my ass.
I didn't know it was that, it had to be released that instant. They said that they started, the laws changed with COVID stuff too. I don't know.
I guess so. I get releasing it, but it's like, don't release it on Friday at 5 where the patient
or Saturday at 11.
Get in contact with anybody.
And then from there I was like, we started Googling and stuff and that TikTok, and everybody was like, oh my God, I Googled too. And like so many people had kind of that same experience of like the panic because nobody is there to answer your questions. That was crazy.
I'm glad we're at where we're at now.
Yeah. So anyway, we got his first round of chemo on Monday.
Yep.
And how do you feel?
I feel really good. It's just the asthma that's getting me.
And what are you attributing your asthma to? I know people are going to say, well, the cancer's in his lungs. Is that why?
I don't think it's that. Well, the doctors don't think it's that. Maybe one doctor thinks it's like blocking some small airways in my lungs, but majority of the doctors don't think that. But it literally, and the reason I don't think that too is because if I do take my inhaler, then I'm fine for a little while, but it'll come back.
Right. It's just so tough to say because the allergies are awful.
Yeah. Like when I was in Houston, I walked that whole thing and I felt
that's true. Fine. That is true.
But the moment I came back to San Antonio, and like I literally remember the moment I came back home, I was like, oh my goodness, like why am I coughing so much all of a sudden?
Yeah, and you just get so out of
like even now I feel like my voice is a little
raspy. A little raspy. A
little sexier, don't you think?
Yeah, so chemo was good. Like we said in the previous ones, the side effects are not going to be like, hopefully, no, it's a different chemo. So they're not going to be like losing your hair, feeling really, really bad. Kind of like, I only have that comparison to my mom's breast cancer.
With the chemo, like, okay, so I won't lose my hair, which is great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But a little part of me is like, I have the most hair. Like, I have so much chest hair, back hair, you name it. You want to imagine it? I got hair there. And like with the chemo, I was like, the one side effect that I could use a little bit of hair loss, because I've always wanted laser or something like that. Because it's like, man, I got little hair everywhere.
Crazy.
I don't get that side effect.
No, you
which
don't
I'm grateful for.
Of course.
But at the same time, I'm like, just in a way, I'm
like,
can you just take out the chest hair?
Can you imagine you with like no eyebrows? Because you lose all of your hair, eyelashes, all your pretty eyelashes.
Well, I'm not gonna lose it.
No, I know, but that would be crazy. You would just be so bald, just naked. Yeah. But yeah, you shouldn't get. So the main two side effects are
hypertension. Diarrhea, I guess is a main one. I haven't had any diarrhea. I'll let y'all know when I do. If I'm at MD Anderson, y'all better keep that toilet clean. And but. Yeah, diarrhea, maybe like blisters on the hand and feet, but it's not like, and the way they put it is any side effect that happens, there is something to do about it.
You can manage it.
Yeah.
And the hypertension is hypertension and diarrhea were like a really big common one. Yeah. And I think relative to how other people have had really severe chemo experiences, like my mom or like my aunts and family members and stuff, like this seems pretty manageable. And I don't want to minimize, it's still chemo and it still could, like, even with hypertension and diarrhea, you could still feel like
sure I could get all this
crap. Yeah. But they were kind of saying, they said they were so cute. They were like, you're our youngest patient. And so you're so young and healthy that you shouldn't have much side effects.
Yeah. And they were saying there's this guy who's like 60-something years old who has been, because these drugs you can be on forever. If they're working, you keep doing them. And he's been on for 10 years?
I think so.
And he's like in his 70s, 60, 70.
He owns a business. He's still working.
Life is normal.
I think it's tough because I did see this a lot in some of the things I posted that a lot of people were like, we're praying that he gets over this hump and goes into remission. And that was like something that was really hard to say and remind people that, and I don't even know if we talked about it on this pod specifically.
Like the cancer doesn't necessarily.
That this type of cancer, you don't go into remission.
Yeah. I mean, and I think even my doctor, Dr. Cabanillas, was saying she's an oncologist too. So she was saying we don't really say the word remission anymore to our patients.
Like to specific thyroid patients?
No, to any patient with cancer.
Oh, okay.
They're trying to get away from the word remission because, even and use the word stable.
Oh, okay.
And the reason they're trying to say that is because any cancer can come back, right?
Sure.
It's not promised. And so like with my cancer, the thing is it's like a chronic condition. Like you have it and you're on these drugs and we hope the drugs minimize the tumors and make the cancer cells undetectable. But the moment I stop chemo, you're hoping you stay stable. But there is a high chance with this kind of cancer that it comes back. That's why you always have to be on it.
Yeah.
That's why I could be on it for a long time, as long as it's working and I can...
With minimal side effects and it's not affecting your organs and stuff. Yeah. So it's that, so heartbreaking. I remember your dad. So Rib's parents came to Houston to help with Juju when we went to MD Anderson, and they hadn't seen him in a long time either. And so Rib came back from his infusion, and he had to take his first dose of Lenvima, which is the oral chemo. And your dad, and it, the drugs come in like a little booklet, and you just pop them out. And your dad was so sweet, and he was like, how long do you have to take these? Or, what's that frequency like? Like every day. And he's like, oh, how long? And you were like, forever.
Yeah.
And your dad's face just was like, oh, right. Like, he was being very stoic, but I could tell that one hit him too.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just different. And I remember telling my mom that too. I was like, yeah, because we're not looking for, remission isn't, I was saying it in passing, like remission is impossible, remember, but like we're looking for stability. And she was like, what? This was like a week ago. And I was like, what do you mean? I've told you all of this. She's like, what?
Yeah.
And I was like, Mom. And she started crying. And I was like, Mom, remember, like this is why our life literally is changed because this is our new normal. We're not trying to get back to, remission. We're not looking for remission. So it's not like we're looking for
You're just hoping, like,
no cancer. We're looking for,
the scans look better and you just keep improving, right? And that's the goal.
But with that comes, the frequency is never going to be super low of tests or imaging.
The rest of my life, I'll always be getting tests,
labs and stuff. It's not going to be like
I'll be going to Houston for as long as I live.
Yeah.
Like I'll always be in Houston.
Yeah.
Either be every 6 weeks, every 3 weeks, every 3 months.
Yeah.
Every
like the
6 months.
70-year-old guy, he was on a different thing. He's going every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
If it was every 2 weeks, we would have to move to Houston.
Yeah, or just
That's just crazy. That's a ton of driving.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was kind of like that reminder too. And I noticed it on my TikTok as well. There a lot of them, which obviously we were like, thank you so much. Like everybody was like praying remission comes soon, praying you get rid of this thing. Yeah. And like all of these kind of final statements of like, you'll be on the other side. You're going to, which are not false, but that's just not like, I guess, true to our journey. And so it's just it's different, but it was just, I remember your dad was like,
yeah, I mean, I think anybody, it's different because you don't hear that with cancer.
Yeah.
You usually hear remission or passes away.
Right. There was one person who said remission isn't possible for her. She has a type of ovarian cancer. Yeah. And
I think that doesn't get talked about enough is like, there are, which I didn't know until I had this cancer, was like, there are types where you don't get into remission.
Yeah, I didn't know that until we had this. I was like, oh, what do you mean? I had no idea. And it's crazy. It's also crazy people's experiences with going through treatments for cancer. There were so many people who had that radioactive iodine that some people didn't. Some people had the thyroidectomy and they were fine. Some people had chemo. And then with different types of cancers, so there's just so many different protocols and stuff, but like with the more common ones, like the breast cancer, they were like, nope, I did like my mom, the surgery, the chemo, the radiation, and then follow-ups. And then 5 years I'm at, I'm good. And I'm like at 1 year follow-ups and then 10 years, et cetera. and like maybe an oral chemo for the whatever. But then they're kind of like done, and I was like, wow, that's crazy to think that is just a different thing with cancer. Different type of cancer. Yeah, it's just crazy. Yeah. All right, so we will be going March 20th. Oh, let's talk about all the traveling we have this next couple of weeks. We'll get into the Q&As. So next week we're going to be gone to Dallas.
Well, I like this new job because they're doing so much to train me.
Yeah, it's great.
It's one of those jobs where I'm like, man, I'm so grateful. So it's CEO in training. That's what I'm classified as right now. And they're going to send me out to Dallas to train, and they're going to send me to Eagle, Idaho. And never thought I would be in Idaho.
I know.
Like ever.
I know.
I wonder if you think there's Indian people in Idaho?
I had no idea.
Like, John, do you think there's Indian people in Idaho? Do you really?
You think there's Mexicans?
Not Native Americans, but like the real.
I don't even know where Idaho is. Like,
it's next to the states up there.
Uh-huh.
And then I got to go to Salt Lake City. I'll be going to Salt Lake City. That's my second time. Never thought I'd be there twice.
Yeah.
And then we might do Subin's 40th in NOLA. I'm not sure if we'll do that, but planning on it. And I just got an invite for a coworker. Shout out Gabby, who's getting married. She said October 18th, the finest Playa Mujeres, if we want to go.
Oh, wow. Let's go.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
We asked Dr. Cabanias, like, can we, but he was like, can I drink with everything going on? Like, not, excessively, but like, is it going to mess up my levels?
I really don't plan on drinking at all. I have no like desire to.
Well, we're going to if we go to New Orleans, like that's...
I'll have a drink maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to get like drunk. I feel like that wouldn't be good for my liver.
No, I'm not. Yeah. So I think that was what we were asking. Like one drink, can he get like, what's the barometers here, the parameters? She was like, yeah, just live your life.
Even like going on the flight, I was like, I'm nervous. I'm like, what if the side effect's diarrhea? What do I do on the flight? She's like, well, good luck to you. No, she didn't say that. Imodium is my friend, but shout out to American Airlines, Southwest.
And apologies in advance.
Forgive me if I have diarrhea on your flight. Do not ban me.
Yeah. So lots of traveling coming up. And then next week, like we said, we'll be in Dallas. We'll finally get to meet Kaya and see the kids, and Gigi. We'll go with Gigi and stuff. But hopefully we'll get back down. Maybe we're coming back on Friday.
Yeah.
And then I really want to stay consistent with recording, so maybe we'll record Friday.
Yeah, you guys can handle it. I'll maybe take off that day.
Okay, just a solo podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I really probably just start my own podcast at this point.
Okay. So let's end on. So let's do a Q&A.
Yeah.
I asked the C Word Chronicles Instagram. I put like a Q&A box.
Okay.
To see. And I said nothing's off limits. And you have to remember that like a good majority of the C Word Instagram
is my friends.
Is our Rib's friends, our friends or whatever. So the first one, hey Ribu.
Hey.
How do you stay so handsome? I mean, positive during all of this.
Handsome is a natural trait. You're born with it or you're not. And so whoever posted that probably is not handsome. And so you probably don't.
Want me to tell you who it is? Abby.
Yeah, I figured it was Abby. I knew Abby would post it. Abby, you're handsome, so you don't have to worry about that. What was the second part?
How do you stay so handsome? I mean, positive during all of this.
Positive, just good. The amount of support I got. Mm-hmm. How do you not be positive?
This one, I'm not sure who this is. Who is the better cook?
Depends. If we're looking
if
we're looking for an Asian or like something kind of twist, Liv, for sure. Asian, Mexican, that's her heritage.
Asian, Mexican?
That's hers. If you're looking for Indian or you're looking for like a barbecue, I really don't cook them that much, but I'm gonna say I'm better at those two.
I feel like I am the better cook.
I'm the better chef. You're right.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. This one I have to zoom in because I can't read it. Hold on. Oops. Okay.
Get it together over there.
Ribu. As Olivia was in labor, what thoughts and feelings were you having once they were calling for the crash cart?
That's a good question. So So I remember I was looking down, and I just remember the doctor was elbow deep pulling placenta out.
Oh, that was so traumatizing.
I was getting a little sweaty because you can tell the look on her face. She was like, come on, like something was happening urgently.
Dude, she was freaking out.
And then I look at Liv's mom, and she kind of sees me looking like that. And then we see all these people come in. I was scared. I was like nervous. And we just kept telling Liv, like, hey, everything's gonna be okay. Yeah, you're looking great. It's the best I've ever seen you.
I know.
And so yeah, I was pretty nervous.
You needed an Oscar for that too.
Right?
Remember I said I needed an Oscar for keeping it together for the surgery for your neck, and you needed an Oscar for keeping it together.
Yeah, I was pretty nervous at that time. It was just because you don't know how like traumatic it is, you know, how.
Yeah, for sure.
And it happened so fast.
And there was so much freaking blood. I just remember seeing blood like on the walls, on the.
I'm surprised it didn't get on me.
Yeah, I remember seeing it on like little, what's it called, speckles on the floor, on the floorboards. There were so many people in there.
Yeah.
Then she asked Olivia, going through that experience, you fear going through that again if you decide for any more babies? And I think a little bit. I think it's one of those things that now it's like part of my medical history that I don't know if that's going to categorize me into a different type of pregnant person, like if they're going to keep an eye on me more, or
I think it's called a retained placenta, right?
I think mine was a partially retained placenta, which is where the hemorrhage came from, because it got stuck.
Yeah.
So I don't think it scares me necessarily to have any more babies. I think it's one of those things that once I'm pregnant and it's getting closer, I think would probably be more scary. Yeah. But I don't think it's going to stop me from having
We
babies.
could always do a surrogate. I got sperm in Austin.
Sperm.
I got in Houston.
Honestly,
anyone who wants to be a surrogate, you can have Karen, you can have Brenda, and you can come to one of my infusions.
Honestly, that doesn't sound like a bad idea, because being pregnant wasn't awful, but it wasn't. I didn't Let's
put a sign up list on.
Somebody else asked Instagram. Another question, but she says, "Love you guys, and the podcast has been so great, getting a perspective on healthcare system through the eyes of you two who are in the medical field. Has been so interesting." And then, but somebody else asked a question about like, are we gonna want babies with all of this going on?
Yeah, we plan. I mean, hopefully life is normal. So that's why I did the sperm banking.
Yeah, definitely. I think initially when we first didn't have a lot of answers, I was like, it didn't make sense. It was really scary, because it was like one of those things where it's like, are we going to get to have another baby? Yeah. Like, more so, are you going to be here?
Yeah. But like
to have a baby?
If I'm on chemo, I can't have a baby naturally.
Right.
Like they literally really tell me wrap it up. They're like, rib or wrap it up.
Yeah.
Pull-out game is I tell them pull-out game is strong. Okay. But they're like, we know you're one of the best, top 10 greatest alive.
You still got to pull.
But they're like, even the best have to wrap it up. And I was like, you're right.
Yeah.
And so pretty much with chemo, I can't. And if I ever do after chemo, or like if I stop the infusions, I have to get like tested to make sure like there's no mutations in the sperm.
Yeah. So I think, yes, we would like another baby. But when, God knows, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
No clue. And I think we want to look for, before all of this, we would have probably already started trying to have, like, thinking about having another baby. Yeah. Gigi just turned 1, and we always wanted them like closer together. And then like, that was
Gigi gonna be 20,
our plan. But God, I have no idea. I can't imagine being pregnant or trying, like, with all the stress happening right now. And then just, I don't know. So hopefully when things like get a little bit more stable and calm, we will see what that looks like. I have no idea, but good question. Okay. And then, let me see. Somebody said, how has this changed your relationship?
That's some serious questions.
Yeah. There's a funny one at the end. I'm going to.
Hey, I can let you answer
everything has changed. Our relationship's changed. It's kind of weird, because it's like our relationship has changed, but then it hasn't at the exact same time. I think we've grown closer for sure. Mm-hmm. I think, like I always say, I got lucky with with somebody who's so freaking positive in all of this, who hasn't like crumbled or like wavered in terms of, you know, keeping one foot in front of the other, and has shown me kind of a lot of things too. But our relationship has changed in a term of me being a little bit more of like the support spouse, which is an interesting journey, and then you being the one who's going through it. But yeah, what do you think?
I think it's made us like stronger. Definitely. I feel like it's put perspective on us and like what we kind of, how we handle things. Like, for instance, if you have a negative comment or if you're nervous to do something, it's like, well, my husband has cancer. We literally say that.
That's true. That's so true.
Or like, I think it'll give us perspective and be better parents for Juju too. Like,
yeah, definitely.
He'll, I mean, he's already grown up so differently, and then you'll have a dad that's going through all this stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think it'll give him a different perspective and hopefully help make him stronger as a,
I
as
agree.
A person too.
I think so too. I think our relationship has changed so much, but individually, I think we've changed a lot too. We've grown from this big journey and experience to like, in terms of just feeling more stronger and, you know, because it's one of those things, like when you're faced with this, like a cancer diagnosis, when somebody, you can either like completely crumble or you can just keep it going. Yeah. I think we both kind of kept it going.
Sure, yeah.
And it's just been one of those things that's changing every day. Mm-hmm. All right, last one. Are the farts more or less pungent? Can I get a whiff?
You can get a whiff. I'll include that in the package of infusion, Brenda, Karen, and I'll jar up a fart for you. Yes. No, actually, I don't know. Honestly, so far the shits haven't been bad.
No, and you haven't had diarrhea yet. So
have I been farting? Yes.
Maybe you won't get diarrhea.
Have I smelt anything I haven't smelt before? No.
Right. Do you want to know who asked that? Guess who asked that?
Is it family?
No.
Subin?
No.
Oh, Jeremy?
No.
Chris?
No. Jobin.
Oh,
Joby. Shout out Joby. We love you.
Asthma.
And then there was a couple more, but we got to wrap it up. But those were the general consensus.
Good questions, guys.
Really good questions. Again, we thank you for the support. We're just getting back into the swing of things with the podcasting. Man, like if doing it for not a month, I feel so rusty.
I do too.
Yeah. So we promise we'll be better next time. Not that it was bad, but we got to just keep working it out. So don't forget to follow us on the C Word Chronicles Instagram and TikTok.
Yes.
Don't forget, guys, I know so many people have texted me like, how else can I support you? I know it seems like a little weird and like trivial, but liking every video, following us, subscribing. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're clicking subscribe.
Our goal is to get a sponsorship.
Growth. Our goal is to grow so this can be sponsored by either a media company,
or Advair, or Albuterol,
or like specific brands, and start to kind of monetize this, because we think we really have belief in this. And like, there isn't another podcast talking about this shit. Yeah. And like, you can only listen to so many like middle-aged or like 20-year-old white girls talking about like dating and relationship advice. Yeah. And then similarly for you, like you can only hear Joe Rogan so many times.
Yeah. I can listen to Dan Patrick all day.
Oh God. But you know what I mean? So we're hoping that this is refreshing and new and something kind of that hasn't been done before. Yeah. So we're looking to just grow. So whatever helps us grow, which is subscribe.
And if you're a marketing rep for Advair, Albuterol, you should feel bad if you're not doing something for us right now.
Right. This is literally your ideal influencer, if you will.
I will be your model.
Yeah.
I will wheeze for you.
Yeah. Beautiful wheeze.
Yeah.
So anyways, we will see you. So we're going to try and drop, I think we want to drop these on Mondays. I feel like when people are going into the work week, let us know. And we'll continue dropping them every Monday or like a set day from here on out, now that we're finally caught up. How does it feel to be caught up?
I feel great.
Yeah, I do too.
I feel like we'll remember more.
Yeah, it's only now going to be like a week's time of remembering stuff, and then we can like keep it going. Yep. And then y'all can keep interacting with us, and it'll be like more in real time. Yep. All right, guys. So y'all have a great day or night wherever you are, and we will catch you later.
Goodbye.
Bye.